Hey guys, this is Vernier for CarEndurance.com, bringing you part 3 of Crushing the Micros 2013. Today we're going to be looking at post-flop play from early position, maybe some middle position hands there as well, when you are out of position in a single raised pot. Like last time, the 3 key ideas when playing your hands post-flop is your own hand, the flop texture, and your opponent's range, and kind of the interplay between these things. We want to look at how we connect with the flop, the ability to barrel, and that's based on the flop texture and our opponent's range. Our opponent's range adjusts for various factors, like their position, their VPIP, and the presence and absence of fish, and the flop texture. We want to know about high cards and draws. Now, not going to spend too much time on this, but again, this is kind of a reminder of different kinds of early position and middle position opening ranges. And more importantly, this is what most players continue against an early position, middle position range with. And again, this is adjusted, make your adjustments based on the villain's position, presence and absence of fish, and their overall VPIP and PFR. Now, this is for most, I would say, regulars. Against some weaker players, like it's tough to put weaker players on ranges. And so, like, for example, here's a hand I played recently where I raised pocket nines. So against weaker players, we mostly just play our hands fairly straightforward. Pocket nines, two players call. 73 VPIP player calls on the button, so I just know that he's going to have a pretty wide range here. So I continuation bet. This is a spot where I actually think I can, I could bet bigger here, but it's one of those spots where I've got the board so crushed that I don't really need to. He calls, and the turn is a jack, and now I decide to check, and he bets pot, and I decide to check raise. And the reason I check raise is because on the turn, I do think he's going to have some kind of an ace or some kind of a draw, and I want to get value from both. In addition to that, I want to set up stack sizes to where I've got about a half pot size bet on the river. So he calls, the river is perfect, and I shove, and he calls me with the, drumroll, king jack. So on the flop, he had essentially no pair, no draw other than the backdoor diamonds and backdoor straight draw. He called the jack on the turn and called the river shove. So it's tough to do any kind of range analysis against a player so loose. So versus these kind of players, we mostly just play our hand for what it's worth. And yeah, I mean, stacking when we flop middle set against their all kinds of backdoor draws. But against a lot of regulars, we are going to be assigning them some pre-flop ranges based on various factors and using those post-flop. Our general thought process is going to be a variation of this, and we're going to be using that today as well. So let's get to the hands. So the first hand that I want to look at is this ace of clubs, 4 of clubs on a 3-4 king board with all hearts. And the situation, we have a 21-17-6 regular who calls on the button. There is a 50 big blind stack, kind of a weaker player in the blinds, and the villain folds to about 50% of c-bets. So our hand is fairly weak, and there are very few barrel cards, as we'll get into. The flop texture includes a high card, the king, and not many draws. This is very much one of those hands where he either has a hand or there's the flush draw, but most of the hands that he's going to have are just not going to be that crazy about the flush draw. Now, our opponent's range, since he's on the button, he is going to be looser, and the presence of the weaker player in the blinds is also going to cause him to be looser. And because of that, I gave him this kind of a range of we talked about the continuation ranges. I gave him the average range, and I added the king, jack, and ace jack offsuit to that range because of the presence of the fish. So now, let's look at our general thought process here. Get that slide up. Here we go. So, did we connect with the flop? The answer is yes. How strongly? Very weakly. What range will villain continue with? And that is it's the $1 million question. So, let's bring up the range we assigned in pre-flop, 152 combos. We know he's not going to fold to top pair or better, and he's going to have that about 30% of the time. So 46 combos of top pair plus. In addition to that, he is going to have a nut flush draw. He's going to have 6 combos of the nut flush draw. And we know he's going to continue with that. And he's going to, let's say he's not going to fold any kind of middle pair that includes hearts. So he's going to continue with 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks with hearts. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 times 3 combos of pair plus flush draw. We're going to say he's going to peel with them at least once, which is going to be 21 combinations. And he's going to probably call with a hand like ace queen with the queen of hearts. So that's going to be 2 more combos of ace queen with queen of hearts. So we have a total of 75 combinations that he continues with, and appropriately looks like he's going to be folding about 50% of the time. So if he's going to be folding about 50% of the time, and is our bet going to be plus EV? So you can probably bet like half the pot here and be one and done. The problem is if he does call, then we're just shutting down on anything that's not a 4. We probably will bet an ace again, but I think everything else we are going to be, well, we can bet a queen too. So let's write that down. So any 4, any ace, and I might or might not bet a queen. But in general, I would say this is just very much like a one and done scenario in this situation. So in the second hand, we're going to go back to this 8 of hearts, 7 of hearts on ace king 9 board. And let's take a look. Our basic hand strength is pretty horrible. The flop texture has high cards and lots of draws, flush draws and straight draws. And our opponent's range, we already, we set our opponent's range as this, same as the last situation. So now let's take a look at what kind of hands does he continue with on this flop. So he starts with 147 combinations, and let's look at what he continues with. So he's going to have 52 combos of top pair. He's top pair or better. He's going to have 27 combos of second pair, 12 combos of gut shots. Now, a lot of those second pair and gut shots are going to have some flush draw to him as well. So he's only going to have one combination of a naked flush draw. And that's, interestingly enough, that's going to be this 7 of spades, 8 of spades. Everything else has either a pair to go along with it or a straight draw to go along with it. So let's go through our general thought process, given all this. Let me bring this up. Did you connect with the flop? No. What range will the villain continue with? Given all these things we added up, he's going to be continuing about 63% of the time. So it's pretty wide. How many turns can you barrel? So let's take a look at that. So before we do that, is a bet going to be immediately plus EV? No. And now let's look at which turns we can barrel, which are going to be good for us and which are going to be bad for us. We will have 10 hearts plus 3 sixes plus 3 tens, which looks to be about 16 cards that we can barrel. The problem here is he's going to pick up equity on a lot of those different, basically on a lot of these cards, unless it's a heart, he's going to be picking up equity as well. And we don't know, like for example, if a 10 comes, like let's say the 10 of spades, it might give him a flush draw to go along with a straight draw. So like if the 10 of spades is not going to be good, so we're down to, what did I have here? This should be actually, yeah, so I think I excluded the spades there. But basically, if we're going to be betting, he's going to be calling a lot of turns as well. So then it's a matter of triple barreling. And I think given all that, given our low fold equity on the flop, and even though we've got some cards we can barrel, he's going to be calling the double barrel a lot as well because people don't like folding top pair. I just don't think this is going to be a good situation to be betting the flop to begin with, given the low fold equity on both the flops and the turns. Then we have to triple barrel, and I just hate triple barreling against a regular and just trying to fold him, trying to get him to fold to top pair. I find that people just put you on a draw and they end up calling. So yeah, we do not proceed with this hand. So for the last hand, we have got pocket fives on this 3-6-9 flop, and let's evaluate it. Very same situation like we had last time. The regular calls on the button. Our hand is not that strong. The flop texture has it's got no high cards, and it has some draws. But given our opponent's range, this is the key to the hand. He's not going to have a lot of draws here. So he can only have one straight draw. But as we look at his range, he's going to have a lot of kind of like backdoor draws. So he is going to be very strong here, only about 18% of the time with top pair or better. He's going to have 15 combinations, or about 9% of hands of 7s and 8s and 8-6 suited. We don't expect either of those to be folding. And so like 4 combinations of open-ended straight draw and 27 combinations of backdoor flush draw plus overcard type hands. So hands like ace of spades, 10 of spades, queen of diamonds, jack of diamonds. So all that he's going to be continuing with about 45% of hands or so. So a continuation bet. Let's go through our decision process here. So did you connect with the flop? The answer is no. What range will the villain continue with? He will continue with a wide range, but, and I think this is the key to the hand right here, is we can bet pretty much any. We can bet pretty much any turn card because he's going to be getting to the turn card with a really weak range. So, for example, ace of 10, ace of spades, 10 of spades. Unless a spade comes, an ace or a 10, he's going to have to fold. But if he has ace of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, and a spade comes, then he's going to have to fold anyhow. So we can bet most turns and be able to show a profit against his range because he's going to be folding a lot of his range on a lot of the turns. Now, if we get called on the flop and on the turn, then I would not triple barrel. But this is a good example of a hand where you can bet the flop, show a profit, and then you can bet a lot of turns and show a profit. But once you get to the river, you're going to have to shut down. So that's that hand. If you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know. And as always, good luck at the tables.